Zhengzi said, filial piety has 3 levels. The highest is to revere one's parents. Next is not to bring shame upon one's parents. The lowest is simply to support one's parents. Confucius, on the other hand, stated, today, people consider supporting their parents to be filial piety. Yet, even dogs and horses are kept and fed. If one does not respect their parents, what difference is there? Reflect on that, isn't it true? Many believe that simply providing for their parents fulfills their duty of filial piety and that they are not being unfilial. But they fail to understand that the greatest act of filial devotion to one's parents lies in how one treats them. We often grant ourselves the right not to be lenient with those closest to us. Parents are the closest people to us. Even if a generation gap exists between us and them, that vast distance can never alter the sacred, indescribable love parents have for their children. In their eyes, we remain their precious little children forever. However, there are those who nitpick their parents over everything, believing they are more learned and knowledgeable, sometimes harboring a subtle contempt for their parents' understanding. Some teach their parents how to use a phone, but if their parents don't grasp it after a few attempts, they immediately get angry and yell, completely lacking patience. When their parents buy shoddy items or are swindled out of money, these children blindly blame and scold them. Faced with their parents' bad habits, they not only show no tolerance but even get annoyed, demanding that their parents conform to their way of life. Let's remember, when we were toddlers learning to walk, how hard our parents worked to help us stand firm, then take our first steps. If we stumbled and fell after a few steps, our parents patiently lifted us, taking us into their arms. When we were children, everything in the world was new, and our parents were always there, dedicating their full patience to teaching us things for the first time in our lives. The world changes rapidly, but parents age with the years, finding it hard to keep up. Many new ways of doing things are also their first time learning. So, who will patiently teach them? Or do we simply assume that parents should understand these things immediately, offering them no forgiveness or patience at all? A Chinese philosopher once said, very aptly, nitpicking with loved ones is merely instinct, but overcoming this instinct and choosing not to nitpick with family, that is true cultivation. We are born as children, but eventually, one day, we will exchange roles with our parents. While we live, let us treat our parents well, especially during their helpless old age. Let's be more forgiving and caring, more understanding and attentive, just as they treated us when we were small. The ancients said, a petty person holds grudges, a noble person holds gratitude. Indeed, those who cling to grievances in their hearts are only making things difficult for themselves, especially when it comes to their parents' mistakes. Being unable to reconcile with one's own parents is akin to confronting the whole world. There's a story about a young girl who had a huge fight with her mother and angrily ran away from home. Wandering the streets, hungry, she was unexpectedly given a bowl of noodles by a kind noodle shop owner. The girl then thought, even a stranger gives me a bowl of noodles, yet my mother scolded me and told me never to come back. My mother isn't as good to me as strangers. A bowl of noodles from a stranger's kindness is a sudden warmth that often moves us. Yet, the selfless care given by parents for decades is often taken for granted, as if the existence of a parent's grace and love is merely expected. Think carefully, between us and our parents, there are always such moments. There are always people who scrutinize and focus on their parents' mistakes, forgetting their kindness and the good things their parents have done, only remembering what they did wrong. There is no pure gold and no perfect person. Our parents are no different. Therefore, forgive and be tolerant of their mistakes. This is the highest display of your cultivation and the greatest filial piety you can offer your parents. Confucius always placed filial piety above all else. Today, you'll find many companies asking job applicants about their relationship with their parents during interviews. Many people also have a standard for choosing a life partner. They must live harmoniously and filially with their parents. Because if one cannot be forgiving towards their own parents, how can they be forgiving towards the world? Those who nitpick their parents can hardly manage social relationships effectively. And some are forgiving towards the entire world, except their parents. Those who are not filial to their parents will eventually make their partners feel cold and distant, and they will not be able to raise grateful children either. Mencius said, only by being filial to one's parents can one live with fewer worries. When one fulfills filial piety, life's path will be smoother, and when one has no regrets in their heart, life will truly be without remorse. Wouldn't you agree? We all know that while our parents are alive, we still have a place to go, a place called home, my child. But when our parents are gone, we can only return to visit. That place can only be called our hometown. While alive, be kind to the place that belongs to you, to the people who lovingly wait for you in that cherished home. Only by living filially with our parents can life be happier. When they were young, our parents had their own vibrant and spirited youth. In middle age, they could run fast, reach far, and do whatever they wished. But when parents truly become old, sometimes things that seem incredibly simple to us become impossible for them, even picking up a piece of candy. At such times, please do not despise the helplessness of old age. Be forgiving towards your parents, because eventually, we will all experience that day. As people age, they tend to ruminate, repeat themselves, and ask about everything. How are our parents to know that this very meticulous questioning and caring is what their children grow to resent? Be forgiving towards your parents, because when you show disgust at their rambling, they will gradually speak less, and one day you will never hear their voice again. The older people get, the slower they speak, and they often forget things, sometimes forgetting the previous sentence before finishing the next. Their actions also become very slow. At this time, please remember your own tottering steps as a child. Your parents were always patient with you. Therefore, do not scold them and be more patient with your parents. As years pass, parents will gradually lose their ability to work as they once did. This helplessness will lead to complaints. You might notice them complaining as soon as they sit down, but please do not nitpick. Be forgiving and understanding towards your parents. Birth, aging, sickness, and death, no one can escape this natural law. When they are ill, our parents might groan in pain. We might have to take time off work to care for them. But do not be bothered or irritated, because there will come a time when you too will be old, weak, and sick. How you treat your parents will always be etched in your children's hearts. It is precisely during their illness that you must always be forgiving and by your parents' side. Lao She said, even if one lives to 80 or 90, if their parents are still alive, they can still have a childlike disposition. But if their parents pass away, we become like a flower in a vase, still beautiful and fragrant, but severed from its roots. To their children, parents are like the string that allows a kite to soar, the roots of an ancient tree, the sail of a great ship embarking on a journey. Throughout their lives, parents always want to do things to help their children thrive. While we are still alive with our parents, we have so much more than feeling burdened. Who knows how deep our connection was in a past life, that we are fortunate enough to be family in this one? As a child, be forgiving towards your parents. Live to fully honor filial piety. Forgiveness is the most precious way you can show your devotion to your parents.